warm good evening to all of you. I am Abhinav Sengupta from PwC. And first of all, I would like to thank Metalogic PMS for giving me this opportunity. And this is a very opportune time to discuss about the innovations in building materials. Of late in the morning, we learned about the usage of steel in the oil sector, defense sector, and AI technologies and all. But this is something which is very new and it's a need of an hour. So I'll be speaking about the performance-driven materials, that how the end product of the steel will be impacting your performance for the net zero. So that is something which is very important to understand. So I'll be speaking through few areas, that what exactly the big shift, why this has happened. Number one. Number two, I'll be talking about TMT bars. I'll be talking about the concrete, or basically the green cement, which already been spoken about by previous speaker. I'll be speaking about the sandwich panels and glass, smart glasses. Then I'll be talking about the fire assemblies, and lastly, what we need to do in order for India to build an ecosystem in this. So let's get started. So basically, what we exactly do, as we should not buy ingredients, we have to buy outcomes. That is something we need to keep in mind. So in order to build any building, these are the 5 things prima facie we require. You can see on the screen the steel bar, TMT bars is there, then the concrete and sandwich panels, which is a different kind of structure, and it's very easy to made and quick to maneuver and add up. We'll speak about the smart glasses and the fire resistant material. It could be brick, it could be wall, it could be anything. So let's see where the thing has got changed. Now, what was used to happen earlier, in previously, we used to measure anything with the help of the price. Let's say a price of a cement bag, a price of a per kg of a steel. But now these connotation has got changed. Now we have gone more towards the performance based measurement, like what outcome they are going to give it. So with new lens, if you could see, so there are 5 S that will determine this entire ecosystem. Number 1 is the strength. Your building ecosystem should give you a proper strength, be it a TMT bar. So a ductility is the measurement of the strength. Then safety, yes, it should stand by all the fire resistance, that it should not fall down, and it should strong, should not erupt. Speed, quick to maneuver. Just now we understood and learned that easy precast models and 3D models can easily plug in and just put it, and so that can reduce the construction time. And savings, the overall the lifetime cost of the construction needs to become down. So saving has a very important role to play. And last is sustainability, because that is the agenda. Like the green, you have to go green everywhere. But if you can see the funnel, that input doesn't determine your outcomes. Your outcomes need to be verified. So what needs to be checked? Your performance need to be measured. Earlier it was just like just input driven, like you give something and you're expecting an Y outcome. But now that verified performance need to be certified. So if you could see on the screen, so there are certain measurement. There are mill test certificates, then there are fire ratings, there are drift, durability, there are all kind of connotations. There are number of measurements, like say if you can see in case of TMT bar, there are measurements like elongities test, there's a tensile strength ratio. All those things is important for as a buyer, or as a developer, as an engineer. We need to understand that. So now the connotation has got changed. So with the help of this 5 lens, we'll be looking at this new products, and we'll try to understand that in order to achieve this net zero, how they will going to play an important role. So we'll talk about the TMT bars. Now for TMT bar, the first and foremost thing, this gives the strength. Now for the strength, they have the ductility, so that in case of not only the any kind of ground shaking, or any kind of let's say if earth movement happens or earthquake happens, it should stay strong, it should stand that strength. So for that, you can see on this graph that on the right axis you can see that the TMT bar FE500, the conventional TMT bar, which is FE500 legacy bar, has a ductility, but with the modified range that has a particular ratio of tensile strength to the compressive strength. That ratio, if it has to be limited in 1.1 to 1.5%, then your TMT bar can withstand more pressure, and it will be it can optimize the cost. So these are the KPIs that you need to understand. So as a buyer, as a procurer in this field, we need to understand that these measures have changed. Also, we would understand that any building needs to stay for a very longer period of time. So now, while envisaging any kind of construction, like 50 years of lifespan, 75 years of lifespan, those things need to be understood. So you can see on the screen that there is a QA/QC check. I'm not going to get into the details, but these checklists are important. So as a buyer, as a procurer, we need to understand that all the checklists are outcome. And number one. Number two thing is, if it is not written, it should not be assumed. It has to be written very well that these performance are guaranteed. So this is with respect to the TMT bar. Now if you quickly see the same with the concrete. Now concrete, unlike TMT bar which gives you the strength, the concrete gives you the durability. So you can see on the screen there is a graph which talks about the CO2 ladder. And if you go from left to right, so you can quickly see that from the ordinary pozzolana cement, the overall consumption of cement which is required is very high, but the CO2 emission is quite high also. But if you go down to the extreme right hand side, like CO2 cured cement, which has a very less quantity of CO2 emission. So now the entire system is now going towards the outcome based. And again, unlike in case of TMT bar, in case of cement industry, it is more of an outcome driven, where I am building my structure. If it is in a area which is highly in case of permeable region or acidic region, then it has to withstand those kind of durability test and permeability test. So that needs to understand. So again, the proper checks and standards are there that need to adhere to. Okay, and for a structural engineer, these are the technical things. I'm not going to get into details because of paucity of time. But yes, for a structural engineers, definitely your water to binder ratio and curing time, time to settling the time, all those things need to be taken care of. Thirdly, if you go like the envelope, which are the sandwich panels as well as the smart glasses. Now these envelopes, as you can see, these are basically nothing but a steel structure both at the inner and the outer end, and the middle layer is consist of a different material which is either thermal resistance as well as the heat resistance. Now based on depends on the usage and the demand, these material can get changed. Now the best part about this, these are very easy to procure, easy to make, and quick to install. So this gives you a flexibility, a builder in terms of flexibility, that you can do it in a fast turnaround time. Also, if you can see the smart glasses, now there are buildings which are having these smart glasses, and these glasses, what they give the KPI, these give the KPI like thermal transmittance, also the solar heat gain coefficients. These are the few KPIs that need to understand that a proper heat absorbent of the building is minimum, so that it should not get warm up. So when you are buying these kind of panels, you are not going for a luxury, you are not going for a final product. You are actually buying these kind of parameters, like you can call it as HSGC or U value. That is what you are procuring. And also you have to understand that the time to procure and to install this is very minimal. So these are the innovation that is happening in the overall building structure. Thirdly, if you could see for the fire part, now any building, if it cannot resist fire, it will have no use. So you have to understand this overall thing in a fire stack manner. Now in that fire stack manner, if one of the chain fails, then entire ecosystem will fall down. So it will depend on the few system. Let's say there is a proper building. Now in a proper building, entire assemblies and the parts by which the building is made of need to make sure that first of all it should be resistance, it should be heat, it should be thermal resistant, minimum 90 minutes, 120 minutes, let's say 180 minutes. That amount of resistance it should have. Number one. Number two, it should have a protection layer, a thin layer, so that your building or the structure should not get corroded. Third, it should also have some kind of isolation or compartmentalization structure, so that there is a proper time to evacuate and certain areas should not get impacted. Fourth point, when there is a proper penetration point, like there are duct, conducts, windows, all those things need to be isolated, otherwise they will caught fire immediately. And last, because of all this ecosystem, man and material should get enough amount of time to pass through that building. So this entire fire stock need to be taken care of. So while constructing that building, as an individual, as a buyer, as a procurer, or as a constructor, we need to make sure that fire stacking is ensured. And lastly, when we do this kind of measure, we have to understand that we are not buying the label. We are actually purchasing these 4 C's. And as of now, the honest reviews of these 4 C's are very important. So let's look at that. First of all, carbon content. We need to have green building. I just spoke about the green building. So carbon content is something which you need to understand. Cost. It's not about the immediate cost. The cost over the period of the project. The life cycle cost need to be understand. There are products which have a higher upfront capex, but over the life of the building, they have a lower operating cost. Third, the compliance. Now compliance check has become very important. So you have to make sure that it has a proper compliance check. And third and fourth is the capability, like the speed in which it can be built up, or do you have any proper ecosystem. This give a proper evaluation parameter. So earlier what used to happen, we used to look at the sticker price and you have to purchase these panels, modules in isolation and build them up. But now when you are going any kind of developer who is using this steel structure or these innovative panels, they have to look at through these 4 lenses and try to evaluate that whether this is making sense or not. And if you can see, then individual material, like you can see the smart glasses has all the carbon structure very properly, carbon cost as well as capex, opex, compliance capability is the most efficient manner. Likewise with the help of TMT also. But again, it depends on structure to structure, geography to geography, area where it wants to be built up. So you have to evaluate this. And lastly, there are total 4 players in this. So I spoke about the developers who is basically developing the building, engineers who is basically ratifying your, the plans, design. There's the contractor who will ultimately build it, supplier who will supply the material, and last is the auditor. Each one of them has their own set of responsibilities. If you draw a RACI matrix, we will understand that the majority of responsibility lies with the ultimate developer who is owning it. So developer has to make sure that in each steps, as you can see on the screen, that the BOQ, right from ordering the BOQ, right from preparing the RFP for procuring of the material, doing the test, performance test, testing, consolidation, gaining some kind of or issuing some kind of environmental product design documents. All those things has to be complied with, and who's responsible, how the auditor will check it. All those things need to be very clear. And lastly, if India has to build this ecosystem, then it's really now it is gaining ground, that almost in a one year span of time, first of all, a pilot scale needs to be developed. On a pilot scale basis, these 5 S which we already spoke about, like safety, savings, sustainability, speed, strength, all those, based on all these 5 measures, your buying material needs to be evaluated. And then there is a baseline cost of particular material or particular building or whatever construction you're doing needs to be determined. And then going up in next 3 to 6 months, this needs to be scaled up. Then procurement needs to be done in a certain sustainable manner. And lastly, once the ecosystem set in, then you can definitely in your future procurement, you can build up this kind of BOQ in your RFP, and the procurement can be given impetus. And lastly, the auditor needs to play a very important role in this. A regular periodic audit needs to be done. So in nutshell, if you see that we have to, earlier it was only like you have to buy and sell. Now in this case, you have to specify the outcome, what exactly you want, and you have to verify it with the proof, because somebody will give you whatever item, because you're not going to see through naked eyes. These are the KPIs that you have to follow through these lenses. Then you have to verify with the proper proof that what has been promised, it is given, it has been delivered. And once these things are measured, then you have to scale it up. So this is a very small presentation what I would like to give about this innovation in materials in this building sector. Thank you so much.
Can we have a round of applause, gentlemen?